Have you ever received a text that went something like this? "Hey Jane, long time no see, how are you?" Or, "Hi Bill, I'm at the restaurant, are you here yet?" Except these aren't numbers you know, they are complete strangers. And when you tell them that much, they apologize, but then they seem to want to chat some more, saying that you seem friendly, and then maybe asking you what your name is, where you're from, and slowly but surely, you have entered the beginning stages of a pig butchering scam. And guess what? You are the pig. If you haven't heard of a pig butchering scam, let me blow your mind for a second. Because this isn't just some niche scam that's just popping up. No, this is an enormous global industry, one that has scammed people out of billions of dollars. Whether it's in the form of an unsolicited text like we were just talking about, or a fake profile on a dating app that you form an online relationship with, these scammers are using psychological manipulation, sneaky digital tools, and our human desire for connection to scam us out of everything.
Butchering. Fraudsters are going to fatten up the victims by enticing the victims to put more money into an investment. And then they're going to slaughter them by walking away and stealing their money.
There are unfortunately countless stories of pig butchering scam victims who've wiped their bank accounts because of these scams. Like Sue, who was scammed out of $2.5 million. That money represented her entire life savings, and it was wiped out when she started sending money to someone who she thought was a UK businessman who wanted to marry her. She formed a whole digital relationship with this person, talking to him every day, and even receiving daily poems from him each morning. She was smitten even when he started asking her for money.
150,000, 250,000, 75,000, make a check for 250,000 and then make another 50,000 check. I sent money to China and Hong Kong at the end, and people say, how can you give money to a stranger? He wasn't a stranger at that point. I mean, the way they know how to hook you.
Now you might see this and think, this is so stupid. I would never fall for this. These people must be insane. And those scammers must be the scum of the earth. But in this video, I want to talk about why those things might not be as true as they seem. Yes, even the scum of the earth one. For one, no one thinks they're going to be the victim of these kinds of scams. Sometimes even those who are millions into it don't want to admit it to themselves. And I think that reveals just how powerful some of these psychological manipulation tactics can be, including our own self-sabotaging tendencies to hide when we make mistakes. And second, if you think what these pig butchering scam victims experience is messed up, you're in for an even worse surprise when you hear what's going on with the scammers who are sending out those messages. Spoiler, this world can be very twisted and very terrifying, but I hope that by diving into it more, we can be prepared if and when the pig butchering scam comes knocking on our door. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Cara and I make video essays on the intersection of money, media, and intentional living. If you like videos about scams and predatory financial schemes, I think you'll also really like my video essays on the predatory world of payday loans, how timeshares keep you poor, and my video on multi-level marketing schemes. So since I haven't given an official definition of a pig butchering scam yet, here it is. A pig butchering scam is a type of long-term scam where the victim is gradually lured into sending more money to the scammer, usually in the form of cryptocurrency under the ruse of it being an investment. The scammers create fake online personas they use to form digital relationships with a victim. That relationship creates trust, which convinces the victims to fork over their money. As to why it's called pig butchering, well, it comes from the idea that you, the victim, the pig, need to be fattened up before being slaughtered. The scammers fatten you up by building trust, and the slaughter happens when they've stolen all your money. You might be thinking, fake dating profiles, fake relationships only through text and never in video or in person. Sounds a whole lot like the old MTV show Catfish. And you're right, in a way, pig butchering scams, especially those that are focused on building fake romantic relationships, are very similar to the old world of catfishing, where someone would impersonate some hottie to get with their crush or just mess with someone. The big difference, though, is that with pig butchering scams, money is the absolute driving force. This isn't just to mess with people or get revenge on your old high school bully. This is a way to financially wreck people, and unfortunately, it's a thriving business. As Professor John M. Griffin from the University of Texas writes in his paper on the topic, the world of pig butchering scams appear to have, quote, moved at least $75.3 billion into suspicious exchange deposit accounts. $75.3 billion. That is more than the entire GDP of Iceland and El Salvador combined. And as you might have spotted in Professor Griffin's paper title, the industry relies heavily on modern-day slavery to operate, something we'll dive deeper into later in this video when we talk about the victims on both sides of the pig butchering scam. But first, so many of these scams start when a scammer gets your personal information, like your phone number. And that is where a service like DeleteMe can be hugely helpful in scrubbing your personal information off the public internet. DeleteMe is a longtime sponsor of this channel, and they're a service that I personally use and love. And right now, they are offering 20% off when you use the code Cara at joindeleteme.com/Cara, which I'll link down below. What happens is that there are tons of data brokers out there constantly selling and publishing your personal information, from your email to your past and current addresses to your personal phone number. And all of this is just floating out there for people to find. You can actually use DeleteMe's scanning tool to see which specific data brokers have your information. But with DeleteMe, DeleteMe's experts find and remove your personal information from these sites. You get a detailed privacy report every 3 months outlining where your information was and what's been removed. And DeleteMe makes sure that your information is regularly scrubbed off of these brokers' sites throughout the year. It's a great gift for yourself and your privacy, but it's also a great gift for the people in your life, whether it's parents or your partner. So if you're interested in getting a detailed privacy report and having your personal information stay private, you can again use my discount code Cara, C-A-R-A, for 20% off. That's code Cara at joindeleteme.com/Cara. And thank you so much to DeleteMe for sponsoring today's video. When we first think of the victims of these pig butchering scams, we might only imagine someone like Sue from earlier, an older person looking for love who may not be very good with the internet. But that stereotype isn't always true. Especially with AI evolving, scammers can now impersonate specific voices, pretending to be some celebrity or financial guru or that hottie you saw on Hinge.
So they can use like top models, pictures, videos in a video call, but it was me which is speaking with them.
Side note, I know that people have impersonated me on TikTok before, making usernames that look just like mine and stealing my profile picture. So I want to make it clear here, just for everyone, that I will never ever reach out to you about investing in some crypto scheme. Please report them, because that is definitely not me. And it's not just the evolving technology that can convince all different types of people to fall for these scams. It's also the sheer length of time these scammers are willing to invest to forge trust. We're not just talking days, we're sometimes talking weeks, if not months, before the scammer even hints at you sending them some money. For a great look into the psychology that scammers use to manipulate us, here's a Reddit post of someone who almost fell for a pig butchering scam. As the Redditor writes, I continued talking to this person and began to enjoy our conversations. A few days in, they sent me a picture of themselves with some friends unprompted. It definitely began to feel a little more real. This preying on human connection lets the scammers and victim build emotional bonds over time. And confirmation bias, which is when we seek out information that confirms the thing we want to believe, it's also heavily at play here. The Redditor even writes, they claim to be a fashion designer and financial planner. It was a little confusing, to be honest. And after the Redditor realized it was all a scam, they admit, I did want to believe I met some beautiful girl a few states away who was rich and that we had a bunch in common. Who wouldn't want that to be real? Now, luckily for the Redditor, the scam was ruined before he ever sent money, but for others, that's sadly not the case. That bias for something to be real can become the initial spark that sets them down the pig fattening path. But then why do they stay trapped even when it seems obvious that they're being tricked?
How much money did you lose?
In the end, I ultimately lost $150,000.
To that, I think we can look at two concepts. One, the sunk cost fallacy, and two, shame. The sunk cost fallacy is when we don't want to give something up because we feel like we've already invested so much into it. It's like going to the movies, but 30 minutes in, you realize this movie sucks. You don't want to be there, but you already paid $15 for the ticket, so you're gonna force yourself to sit through the next hour. Now that's an innocent example, but sunk cost fallacies can also look like bad boyfriends who you don't want to break up with because you've already been together for a few years, or sticking with a job that you absolutely hate because you spent years training for it, even if a career switch would be better for you. And in the case of pig butchering scams, it can mean not wanting to abandon the scam even if you suspect it's a scam.
Made some money.
He did?
Yeah.
Got even higher in December when Jansen convinced Charles to go big.
And how much did you do?
$185,000.
The scammers may show you fake profits for your crypto investments and then ask for thousands of dollars of fees in order to release your money. Deep down, you might have a hunch that you're being tricked, but you're already deep in. You've sent thousands of dollars already, and you feel like you might as well continue since you're already down this path. But that just digs the hole deeper and deeper, and that is where shame comes into play.
I mean, I went into a depression. I was depressed. Ashamed, embarrassed that I had done all this without sharing it with anybody.
Every day I beat myself up. How stupid are you, Connie? You're an educated person.
We believe that is also substantially undercounting the true extent of the problem.
Undercounted because people are wrapped in shame and embarrassment.
They may be embarrassed that they have been victimized in this way. They may be afraid to tell their friends or family.
The social stigma of admitting to being a scam victim can be devastating for people, to the point where some victims have even taken their own lives over the situation. And unfortunately, the nature of these scams being based in crypto and living on encrypted messaging platforms means that the victim's money is rarely ever recovered. And sometimes it's not just the victim's money who is affected. Just recently, a Kansas bank CEO was sentenced to more than 24 years in prison for sending $47 million of bank money to scammers in a pig butchering scheme. As we've seen with other pig butchering scam victims, the pig butchering scheme started with smaller payments. The CEO using his personal money, then church money, then cashing out his daughter's college fund, and eventually sending millions of bank dollars to the scammers. This money represented bank customers' real money being lost, and eventually led to the bank's failure. Even up to the point of arrest, the scam CEO was saying, if I just had another 2 months, I could get the money back. So at this point, you might be thinking, these scammers are the scum of the earth. And I'd argue, yes, the people who run the top of these scams are absolutely scum. And I'm hoping that platforms and governments can better protect users from these types of scammers. But the actual people messaging, the ones that we sometimes see funny videos of where they're getting harassed and duped, those people are likely just another type of pig butchering scam victims. I mentioned this earlier, but one of the most terrifying aspects of this pig butchering scam world is that it's propped up by slavery. Yes, like actual full-blown modern slavery. Many pig butchering scams are run out of Southeast Asia by crime organizations, and those rely heavily on human trafficking to staff their scams. The name for this new phenomenon? Forced criminality. Forced because these scammers didn't sign up to scam. Originally, they thought they were being hired for a great international job, until things go terribly wrong.
So first, we arrived in Yangon. They picked me up at airport with a luxury car. And I think that, okay, it feels like they're a really good company. They said we have a little road with car, and the road was more than 15 hours. So I understand that there was something wrong happening right now. But I tried to talk, I tried to get out of the car, but it was too much hard for me to handle. It was impossible for you to escape this compound because there was more than 50 security guys, and they all have these tasers or sticks. It's impossible to escape.
And we're not talking a few hundred people trapped in the system. This isn't some niche industry. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of people trafficked for these scams.
There have been approximately 120,000 people trafficked into Myanmar for this purpose of forced criminality, and another 100,000 people believed to have been trafficked into Cambodia for the same purpose.
I won't get into the darker details about the abuse that the victims experience when they don't hit quotas or they refuse to scam, but if you want to learn more, I have all my resources linked down below in the description, including the Wall Street Journal podcast episode we just listened to briefly, and the documentary The Butcher Shop that we've seen clips of so far.
I did not want to do it, at all. It was so opposite who I am. It's so wrong, but I was kidnapped by them, so I had no choice but to do that.
I can pretend that I'm doing the job, but deep inside of me, I have that, humanity that I feel bad with what I'm doing. But if I don't like something, I can say that I don't want it, and that is also, it has a cost that goes with it, and I'm not ready to pay for that cost.
When we think of these scams, we should remember that there are two distinct groups who've been victimized and scammed. Those who fall for the texts and send their money over, something that we should all be wary of falling into ourselves, and then the workers who believe they're signing up for legitimate jobs only to be trafficked into a world of abuse and isolation. And with that, I think it's important for us to extend as much empathy as we can. I get that those videos making fun of scammers and duping them are really amusing, but I personally find it really hard to enjoy them when I know there's a high chance that the people on the other end are enslaved, that they don't want to be doing this as much as you don't want to be scammed. So with all this in mind, what do we do? To protect ourselves from falling for these scams, the biggest thing I would say is to be cautious. Think twice about trusting people with your money, especially when they're asking for money over crypto. And if you do become a victim of one of these scams, report it to your bank immediately. In the US, you can also report the scam to your local police, the FBI, and the Secret Service. These options probably won't get your money back, but they can be helpful for those agencies to just get more data on the scams. As for how to help the trafficked victims of pig butchering scams, it's complicated, to be honest. I won't sugarcoat it. This terrifying scam world involves lots of systems beyond our individual control. Broken countries with corruption and billion-dollar crime organizations. There are various charities that are trying to help victims escape and get back to normal life, like the Global Advanced Projects Group. But one way I think we can help on a small scale is simply raising awareness of this scam. The fewer people who fall for these scams, the less money these organizations can make, and hopefully the less it can grow overall. And with more people knowing how awful this world of scam is, more institutional change can hopefully be made to protect everyone involved. So what do you think? Have you experienced the scam yourself? Is there another type of scam you want me to cover in a future video? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you found this video educational and interesting. And if you did like this video, I think you'll really like my video on payday loans and on timeshares. So go check those out now that you're done with this video. Thank you so much to my patrons on Patreon for supporting this channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.